Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are starting a new chapter, Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 16, verse 1 through 3. Shri Bhagavano Vacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhi Jnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Danam Damascha Yagnascha Swadhyayastapa Arjavam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodhas Tyagah Shanti Apaishunam Daya Bhuteshva Alolutvam Mardavam Hrir Achapalam Tejah Kshama Dhritihi Shaucham Adroho Nadimanita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities of son of Bharata belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So welcome all of you to today's Bhagavad Gita class. And we have started a new chapter today. It is the divine and demoniac natures from the Bhagavad Gita. Now, we see in this verse, these three verses that we read, Krishna is calling this whole knowledge as transcendental qualities. They're all mentioned in this chapter. So, what is the purpose of these qualities? They can help us to attain self realization. And when we come to that stage, then we will experience peace and happiness even amongst chaos. Even if if the life is chaotic or whatever is going on in our life, it will not matter because we would have reached a stage of self realization. The first quality that comes to our mind is purification. Purification of the body, the mind, and the heart. Now, how does that work? It's not easy. It requires a lot of practice and constant practice. So, to maintain the body or keep it healthy, it's important to understand what Bhagavad Gita tells us. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita that one should not eat too much, nor too little, not sleep too much, nor sleep too little. In other words, have some good habits. In fact, anything in excess is harmful. So if we eat too much, it's harmful. If we don't eat enough, then that can cause some problems in the body. And another thing to remember is we are what we eat, right? In the 17th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the next chapter that we will take up, we will learn how we can purify our body with the help of food. First thing comes in mind is food, because based on what kind of food we eat, we will operate in that mode. You know, there are three different modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So if we will eat food in the mode of goodness, obviously our consciousness is going to be affected that way. Similarly for passion and ignorance. So what will happen is that if we somehow or the other take on this knowledge, think about it, and see if this is something that we can incorporate in our life. So if we eat food in the mode of goodness, of course, later on we can learn how to change the food in the mode of goodness into pure goodness. Pure goodness means it's just sanctified, blessed food, which is so helpful not only for our body, but even for our fine tissues in the brain. It's very powerful. So if we take on this knowledge, then we can keep the body fit. Until and unless we keep the body fit, how are we going to learn to control the mind and the senses? So, the next step is purification of the mind. How do we purify the mind? So, we all know thinking, feeling, and willing, this happens in the mind. And all this is expressed through our senses, our eyes, ears, nose, touch, whatever you may call it. So if we really want to control the mind, then we will have to work on it, because our thoughts will lead to actions. So if a desire comes about in the mind, then immediately the senses would want that to be fulfilled. And then if the intelligence is not powerful enough, then the actions are going to give reactions. So thoughts lead to actions, which lead to reactions. So it's important to take on the knowledge on how to purify the mind, how to cleanse the mind, and to help us act in such a way that there are no more bad reactions. Of course, in chapter 3 and 5 of Bhagavad Gita, we learned how we should act in such a way that there are neither good reactions nor bad reactions. And that is what we learned, which is called akarma. So the mind is a very powerful tool. You know, Krishna tells Arjuna that the mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. Choice is ours. So if we do not control our mind, it's going to be our worst enemy. But if we can control it, then it will become our best friend. And with the help of knowledge, we can make the mind our best friend. And for that, we need training and guidance. And once we train the mind under the guidance of a spiritual master, then the mind will take us in the right direction. Otherwise, it's going to go in the wrong direction. So, how do we purify the mind? That is a big question, because now we have learned that we need to purify it. So, what is the process? The scriptures clearly tell us that even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dhrida vritaha. He says, always chanting. When we do mantra meditation, when we chant, then the purification of the heart takes place, because these sound vibrations are so powerful. The mantra is so powerful that it enters into our ears and goes into our heart and starts cleansing the heart. And it also starts cleansing the mind. So just like when we have a disease, what do? We take a prescription medication, right? It's not that we just walk into the pharmacy and close our eyes and just pick whichever medicine comes in our hand for our disease. No, we make sure we take on the right medication for the disease. So also in mantra meditation, we should make sure that we are chanting the prescribed mantra, right? There's a lot of stress and anxiety these days. There's so much chaos going on. So how does one deal with all this? It is possible to deal with it when our mind is under control, right? And that is by mantra meditation. What is mantra? Man means the mind, and tra means to free the mind from anxiety. That kind of meditation will help us to somehow or the other control the mind. And the Supreme Lord has given us the medication for this age in which we are living, and that is the Maha mantra. Maha means the greatest chant that has been given to us in the Vedas, and that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now I have put that in the chat. This mantra has been posted in the chat, so you can see that a combination of all these 16 words has the power of all the mantras that are there in the Vedic scriptures. This is very, very powerful. So, when we do this mantra meditation on a daily basis, then the result will be it will awaken the true potential within us, right? It will help us to realize who we really are, that we are not this body, but we are the spirit soul, which is situated in the heart. So, what is the significance of this chant, of this mantra? The Supreme Lord in the Bhagavad Gita that we are discussing today, Bhagavad Gita, which is the summary of the Vedas, it, the Supreme Lord has invested all his power, all his energy in this holy name. And it can be chanted by anyone without any discrimination, and it is free. And not only that, it frees us from anxiety. There's so much every day we hear in the news, or we watch the news, or we hear from our friends, what's going on in the world, especially in this pandemic time. There's so much distress and so much anxiety. So if we take on to this meditation, then what will happen? It will start purifying our heart and our mind, and gradually it will give us peace and happiness. Everyone is looking for peace and happiness. So this is the prescription which is being given to us. And the next quality that is being discussed in the Bhagavad Gita is cultivation of knowledge. And that we are doing right now. We are taking on knowledge from the scriptures, right? This knowledge will help us understand what is the goal of a human life. What should a human being do? Right? What is the purpose of us being in this human form? Is it just to sleep, eat, sleep, and be merry? No. Just eating and sleeping, even the animals do. We got to go beyond that. We got to use our philosophical intelligence and understand, why am I here in this body which is temporary? And this Bhagavad Gita is giving us the knowledge which we can hear with an open mind, contemplate on it, and see if this is something that we like to hear. And then, of course, there will be a lot of doubts that will come up. So what do? We remove those doubts with the help of knowledge. So, hearing and training is required under guidance. Just like if I want to learn something like maybe karate, singing, music, dancing, whatever it may be, I need to approach a certified teacher. So also when we approach a certified Bhagavad Gita teacher, then under the guidance, we can learn about the purpose of human life. Then the goal will be very clear, and the path to achieve it also is going to be very, very clear. One of the other qualities that is being discussed in today's verse is self-control. And that is again possible by training, right? How do we control our children? We train them. Unless we discipline them, train them, tell them what is right, what is wrong, they will not know the difference. And if we don't, then they will just, go all over the place, they'll go wild. So let me give you an example. I'm not sure if all of you can see this picture. Can you all see this picture? It is a picture of a chariot, right? It is a chariot we can see wherein there are horses, there is a driver, and then there is a passenger also. So let us look at this analogy. Let us imagine that our body is like this chariot, right? And we, the spirit soul, are the passenger who are sitting in this chariot, which means the spirit soul is in this body, in this chariot. And the driver is actually the intelligence. And the reins that the driver is holding on to is the mind. And all these horses, They are like our senses. So let us imagine that these horses are wild. They are going in all different directions. And the driver, which is the intelligence, is not controlling the reins, which is the mind. That is the reason the senses are going haywire. And in the process, what happens? The passenger is bewildered and totally, doesn't know what to do. So it's important that the driver, which is the intelligence, is somehow or the other able to control the mind, the reins of the horses. Once the mind is controlled by the intelligence, then the horses will automatically come under control, which means the senses will come under control. So, this is how we can control the mind and the senses, by using the intelligence. And the intelligence needs to be fed with knowledge, with that spiritual knowledge, with the scientific knowledge of self realization. And we can use this with a very simple formula, which is called DARE. DARE, dare. Like we say, I dare you, right? Dare. What does that stand for? D stands for distinguish. A means attribute. R means redirect. And E means establish. What does that mean? Distinguished. That is the first step, which means we use our intelligence to distinguish or to identify the unwanted thoughts, the unwanted urges, and the desires that are negative. That is the first step. Now, once we identify or distinguish, then attribute it. Understand that these negative thoughts, desires, urges are deceptive brain messages. No need to follow them. It's not that the mind says do this and we just do that. No, we got to use our intelligence. So if our thoughts, urges, desires, they are going to take us away from our real goal, which is self-realization, then we know we attribute it as deceptive. Then what is the next step? Redirect it. Simple. Just change the responses and redirect the attention. To what? To something positive and something useful, right? We need to break, if we do have any unhealthy, habitual, or automatic responses, we need to break that. We need to redirect that. And that is possible when we take on the knowledge from this Bhagavad Gita under the guidance. And then we will be able to redirect it. Right? And finally, establish, which means we need to focus so long, for such a long time. It should be enough. There should be enough focus. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Vyavasatmika buddhi eke kuru nandana bahu shakhahiyan. He says that our focus should be direct, straight, one pointed, not everywhere, not all over the place. There has to be focus. Just like we want to be successful in something, we have to have full focus on that. Until and unless we focus, we will not be able to. So if we don't focus our mind, then the result will be there'll be no more constructive and healthy thoughts. And if until and unless we have those positive thoughts, we will not be able to guide it to proper action. So it is very, very important that we train the mind. And once again, the importance is given to guidance. Just like we need a teacher in every aspect of our life, we also need a teacher when we want to realize ourselves. Now, mind and senses, they can be controlled, as I said, with mantra meditation. And mantra meditation really helps us. And of course, at the end of this session, we will do a little bit of mantra meditation also, just to get a feel of it. And once we get the feel of it, then we can decide for ourselves. We can try it and see, is it something that is giving me peace and happiness? Is my consciousness changing, right? Because these sound vibrations are very, very powerful. Have you all noticed that if someone yells at us, or someone is screaming at us, does it have an impact on us? Immediately, right? Because of the sound vibrations. So imagine the positive, the transcendental sound vibrations when they go into our ears and enter our hearts. Then imagine what kind of consciousness that will bring about, right? There will be a purification of the heart, of the mind, of the senses. Let's go to another topic that Krishna is talking about in this verse is simplicity. We've heard many times simple living, high thinking, right? Unfortunately, most people high living, simple thinking, or high living, simply thinking, which means no thinking at all, right? But that is not what human life is meant for. It is meant for us to go beyond the bodily concept of life. We have learned from the chapter 2 of this Bhagavad Gita that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul which is inside this conditioned body, right? So we need to go above that and think about the soul. We feed the body every day. What about feeding the soul also every day, right? How do we feed the soul? We feed the soul with mantra meditation. That is the food for the soul. Next topic Krishna talks about is truthfulness. We've heard honesty is the best policy. Are we able to manage it? Are we able to maintain it? Are we honest all the time? Right? We need to be honest with our own selves and honest with others, right? Which means we should not distort the truth, which also means what you see is what you get. Doesn't that make sense? What you see is what you get. There's no duplicity, right? There are no double standards at all that, oh, at home I'm like this, outside I'm like that. No, we got to be honest with our own selves. And more importantly is Krishna is talking about free from anger. How many of us get angry? Just like that. I have this desire. If it's not fulfilled, I get angry. Until and unless, with the help of knowledge, I have trained my mind to control. In Bhagavad Gita, earlier chapters, Krishna tells Arjuna that when the senses come in contact with sense objects, right? When they come in contact with sense object, there is attachment, which means, say, for instance, we see something and then we want it. It doesn't matter whether we can afford it or not. We want it. So when we do that, there is attachment. And when that desire is not fulfilled, then there is anger. We get upset, we get angry because the desire is not fulfilled. And it has been proved scientifically that when a person gets angry, there is a chemical reaction in the body. And that is the reason we see in anger, people say things and do things that they regret afterwards. Right? Even if we are provoked, we need to check the anger, and that is possible when we train our mind. When the mind is trained, so it all leads up to training the mind to be under control. And that is actually a process, because until and unless we control the anger, the pollution from the body will not go. And from Bhagavad Gita, we learn how to control anger. Constant practice, constant practice. Another quality Krishna talks about is tranquility. We all are looking for that. And if you're all looking for that, that means we don't have it right now. And that's why we are looking for it. And that is possible again through meditation, mantra meditation. And that will bring us to develop another quality in us, which is compassion for all living entities. And how can we show compassion to others? by distributing this knowledge about self realization, making them understand that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul, and the purpose of human life is not just to eat, sleep, mate, and defend. No, there's much more to that. To somehow or the other learn how to end this suffering, how to end this cycle of birth and death, and not only help ourselves, but also to help others. And that will be possible when we get freedom from excessive desire. That's not good for self realization at all, you know. We have to understand from chapter 3 and 5 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says that it is our past actions that are fructifying now into reactions. So if a person is very beautiful or very rich or very knowledgeable or very famous, or if a person is poor or suffering, whatever the situation may be, it is based on our own past actions. We are facing the reactions right now. So if based on my past actions, if I am supposed to earn $5 million, I will earn it, right? There is no need for extra endeavor because I have earned it in my past life with those actions. But if it is not in my karma, I am not going to get it. So there's no point in working so hard that we don't use the time wisely. This time is very, very, very expensive. It's very valuable. Now, we started at 7 p.m. We have passed 25 minutes since we started. Can we get back those 25 minutes? No, it's gone. We have lost it. We actually did not lose it because we are here to take on some good knowledge for self realization. So we didn't lose it. But the point I'm trying to make is that we must not work, or let me say, over endeavor for greed. We should use our time very wisely. So the one other quality that Krishna talks about is freedom from excessive desire, because it's only our piety that can go with us. Money is going to stay back. Money is not going to go with us to our next life. I believe the second person to die in Spain, his name of COVID, his name was Antonio Montero. He was 73 years old, and he was a chairman of Santander Bank, which is a very, very famous bank in Spain. And he got infected with COVID. And his daughter uh, talked about it and said that my father, even though we are so wealthy, we have so much money, but my father died alone in the hospital. The money stayed at home. He had all that money, but that money could not help him save his life. He was looking for air which is free. We breathe air every day and we don't pay a bill for it. There's no utility bill for the air that we breathe every day, which is free. But he died because of shortness of that air. All the money could not save him at all. It is good to earn money. There's nothing wrong in earning money, but we should know that that should not be our only goal. Our goal should be to understand, to do something about the soul that we really are. We are the spirit soul, and we need to work on that. We need to feed the soul. And Bhagavad Gita teaches us how to realize the self, how to realize the soul, and how to take care of this body and the soul also. It's not that we neglect the body. We do take care of the body, but at the same time, we need to take care of the soul also. Another quality that has been discussed is steady determination. That also requires training, and that requires association of like minded people, right? If I have a desire to drink a lot till I'm totally drunk, then naturally I'll associate with those who are in that consciousness. And that is how I will get influenced. But if I want to learn how to become self realized, then I need to associate with spiritually minded people, with those who are practicing the Bhagavad Gita, those who are able to teach, or those who are able to, we need to hear from them. We need to hear from this Bhagavad Gita step by step, systematically. One more quality that Krishna talks about is forgiveness. So difficult, right? Someone insults us, and then, I come and say, oh, just pardon that person, just forgive and forget. Can we do that? Yes. Lip movement, we'll say, oh, that's okay, I forgave you and I forgot. But has it gone away from the heart? No. It is very difficult to do that. To err is human, right? To err is human. We make mistakes. So we should understand that until and unless we forgive, we will remain restless, right? We will not be able to be at peace with our own selves. So these are some of the qualities. Of course, I cannot discuss all the qualities that we read today because of shortage of time, but this is some of the qualities that we talked about. And these Krishna says these are transcendental and need to cultivate them. When we cultivate these qualities gradually, the result will be we will rise to the highest platform of self realization. So I'm going to end here. If anyone else, if anyone has any questions or comments, we can take those. Otherwise, what we could do is, excuse me. Excuse me. Otherwise, what we can do is I can